Today, a little bit different. This car belongs to the youngest member of the Edsel Club, and I'm just saying that up front because it's never too early to get started on your dream car. Anyway, this is a 1959 Edsel Ranger two-door sedan. But before getting into all of it, I am Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. This channel, we feature the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, and cars that are off the beaten path. If that sounds of interest to you, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. And be sure to hit that like button if you dig this channel because it helps more people see this episode in the future. 1959 Edsel lineup consisted of, well, let's take a step back first. And a side note, we're going to try to do all of the Edsel models eventually. So if there's something that doesn't get covered in this episode, it's sort of on purpose so that it's not the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe a 58 might be coming soon. Anyway, why Edsel? Well, Ford felt left out because underneath the Ford umbrella, there was only 3 makes, Ford, Mercury, Lincoln, whereas the other 2 big companies, GM and Chrysler, each had 5. Under GM's umbrella, Cadillac, Buick, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, Chevy. Under Chrysler's umbrella, Imperial, Chrysler, DeSoto, Dodge, Plymouth. So in 1955, Ford made Continental its own make, a superior luxury brand that sat above Lincoln, and it was to compete with the Imperial Crown Coupe as well as the Cadillac Eldorado. But Cadillac couldn't have a car that was more expensive than it, so it made the Eldorado Baritz, which was the most expensive American car produced in the 50s to my knowledge. And Edsel would be introduced in 1957 for the 58 model year, so they would have their 5. Ford, Mercury, Edsel, Lincoln, Continental. Unfortunately, Continental did not make it to 57. It actually got absorbed into the Lincoln brand itself because sales wasn't where they thought they were going to be, and the cars were more expensive to produce than they actually brought in. Continental actually lost money on every single one produced. Edsel was offered only for 3 years, 1958, 59, and 60. In 1958, the Edsel was offered in a junior series, which was the Ranger and Pacer, and a senior series as Corsair and Citation, and 3 different flavors of wagon. You had the 2-door Roundup, which are extremely rare, 4-door 6-passenger Villager, 9-passenger Bermuda. By 1959, the Pacer and Citation series got the axe. So 1959 Edsel model lineup consisted of the Ranger as the base model, Corsair as the top model. Both the Roundup 2-door wagon and Bermuda were canceled as well, leaving the Villager as the only wagon option. 1959 Ranger could be had as a 2-door hardtop, 4-door hardtop, 2-door sedan, 4-door sedan. It's also important to note that Ford changed market position with the Edsel in 1959. Remember, MEL, Mercury, Edsel, Lincoln. Ford slotted Edsel between Ford and Mercury, which just confused buyers even more because they just didn't know what they were buying. All 1959 Edsel sedans used Ford bodies. Edsel was built on a ladder chassis designed by Roy Brown. 1959 Edsel was marketed against DeSoto, Buick, Dodge, and Oldsmobile. Let's talk specs. 210.9 inches long, 79.8 inches wide. It rides a wheelbase of 120 inches. It weighs 3,547 pounds. Price is $2,629, which is equivalent to you spending $26,814.72 in the year 2022. Total 1959 Edsel production was 47,396 units, of which total Ranger production was 30,258, and of that total number, 2-door sedans were 7,778 units. Moving on to engines, which there are 3. Starting in the basement, 223 cubic inch displacement. It was also known as the Mileage Maker 6, inline 6, 3.7 liters. It will show up as VIN code A on the VIN tag. 145 brake horsepower at 4,000 RPM, 206 foot-pounds of torque at 2,200 RPM with a bore of 3.6 inches and a stroke of 3.6 inches. Compression is 8.4 to 1. 4 main bearings made of cast iron fed with a single barrel carburetor. When equipped with the 3-speed manual transmission, 95 miles per hour was the theoretical top speed. 0 to 60, 14.5 seconds. Average fuel economy, 15.9 miles to the gallon. One could opt for a 2-speed automatic, which was called the Mile-O-Matic. 0 to 60, 17.1 seconds. Average fuel economy, 16.3 miles to the gallon. 92 miles an hour was the average theoretical top speed. Moving to the middle option, 292 cubic inch displacement, Y-block V8, 4.8 liters. It will show up as a VIN code C on the VIN tag. 200 brake horsepower at 4,400 RPM, 285 foot-pounds of torque at 2,200 RPM. With a bore of 3.750 inches and a stroke of 3.297 inches, compression is 8.8 to 1, 5 main bearings wrapped in cast iron, single 2-barrel carburetor. Equipped with a 3-speed manual transmission, 0 to 60 could be had in 10.5 seconds. Average fuel economy was 13.3 miles to the gallon. Theoretical top speed, 105 miles per hour. Moving on to the top of the heap engine offered in 1959 for the Edsel lineup. 361 cubic inch displacement, FV V8, 5.9 liters. It shows up as the code W on the VIN tag. 303 horsepower at 4,600 RPM. 390 foot-pounds of torque at 2,900 RPM with a bore of 4.0469 inches and a stroke of 3.500 inches. Compression is 10 to 1. Equipped with a 3-speed automatic, 0 to 60 could be had in 8.2 seconds with a theoretical top speed of 120 miles an hour while getting 10.7 miles to the gallon. Moving on to transmissions. If you haven't already picked up, there are 3 transmissions on offer. 3-speed manual, Mile-O-Matic, which was their 2-speed automatic option, Dual Power, which was their 3-speed automatic, which only was available as an option on the 361. All right, coming up to this door panel, just check out how this door panel is designed. It's a very interesting design. Just look at how deep the door panel goes. There's my finger for reference. Down in here, this is more like a vinyl material. Armrest, door handle to pull the door shut. Here is the door handle to get out, and it works like that. Here's the window crank for the big window, and it operates like that. On to the button switches and knobs. Starting left and moving right, ignition switch, lights, air control. Just above that are the fuel gauge and the oil light, which is an idiot light. Left turn signal indicator. The speedometer sits in the background with odometer in the center at the bottom. Generator light, water temperature, air controls, wiper, lighter. Just off to the right are for the heater and ventilation controls. Choke is just below that, radio, clock. On to the pros and cons. I'm getting all of these pros and cons from the complete book of collectible cars, blue chip auto investments, 70 years from 1930 to 2000 by Richard M. Langworth and the auto editors of Consumer Guide. On the positive side, it says, as for the 59 Corsair, but priced less, and against it, as for the 59 Corsair, but slower to appreciate and less luxurious. So let's take a look back at what the 59 Corsair says. On the positive side, less unique appearance than the 58s, but possibly more successful. Most models still in good supply. Against it, less distinctive Edsel than the 58s. Won't ever appreciate as much either, though convertibles aren't cheap now, and the convertible model was only offered in the Corsair. Anyway, now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give me the correct name of the band as well as song title. First one to do both correctly will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Another great song that's going to be stuck in your head all day, and that's really a fitting song for this car. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you really dig this channel and like this episode, please give us a like so more people can see this video in the future. And until next time, toodaloo!